Hey folks, so welcome to my review of the Earphone DIY Labs product, or the Earphone DIY Labs Store is basically the shop that sells it. And this is like I said, it's a DIY product and it uses Tesla drivers, which is obviously quite intriguing. Obviously I've never used Tesla drivers before and anything, well sorry, I've never heard them before. I've never had anything from this store before or anything like that. And yet, as usual, full disclaimers, this is the fifth and final one from a particular viewer, so thank you very much. Yeah, I was not paid to this video, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. And yeah, let's just see what's in this Sennheiser pouch, because this is what it comes with when you buy it, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, so like I said in the actual introduction part, this is a DIY one. This Sennheiser branded pouch is what they send, and they also send a black cable, I think. But obviously, because this is not mine, the viewer sent me the cable that he uses with it. So let's just see what we've got here. So the cable looks like another open heart one. And obviously he sent his foam tips as well. See here. Quickly unravel this mess. So yeah, the cable is, if you can see, black and gold. It's just an open heart one, which is kind of basically similar to the one I did before. As you can see, just straight 3.5. Obviously it doesn't come with this cable, so bear in mind. And yeah, onto what they are. So the model of these is called the Mini Piano. Obviously MMCX, really small shell. There's a little bit of glue residue because obviously just from how they're made. So very small. Obviously I've took the tip off. You can see all the way in, which I've never seen before. It might be good or bad for like resonance, I'm not quite sure, but you can see all the way in. There's some vents. Yeah, that's it. The build quality seems good. I don't know if maybe it's made out of brass, I'm not quite sure, but obviously it's definitely not plastic. Obviously there's right. So they do actually say which side they are. That's left. And yeah, so that's it really. So obviously I've already graphed these, I've been using these for a bit. So yeah, just get straight on to the review. So yeah, let's just get straight on to comfort, as that to me is always number one, like I've said a few times. Now obviously, imagine that's a new ear. I didn't really find these that comfortable because they are on the large side, as you can see. But obviously it's a cable down fit as well. Some people prefer that. I didn't really ultimately like the comfort of these really, because it always felt like they're not heavy, but because I think with this cable, you might want a cable that's lighter, because if it's heavy it always feels like it's, you know, doing that in your ear. But yeah, so comfort to me wasn't great. Yeah, so straight on to a con really is driver flex. So a lot of driver flex, and what I mean by that is, for people who don't understand driver flex, is when you put them in your ear, it sounds like a crinkling kind of noise. That's driver flex. Obviously you can help alleviate that is if you lower your jaw or open your mouth, put them in, and that way that does help. Not always, but it's always worth trying if you do get some with driver flex. Just a crinkly sound is the best way to just describe it if you haven't heard it before. Obviously you only get that with things with dynamic drivers. If it's really sealed, like a RBA unit, you don't get it, but you get like a weird vacuum in your ear. You kind of get it with this, which is strange considering it's got vents. But then again, you can see all the way in, so the driver must be all the way down the bottom. I'm not quite sure how they've done it. You can see it all the way in. And yeah, so let's talk about sensitivity, the power. I didn't really have any issues really. There wasn't too bad. Obviously it does help because these drivers are a little bit different to pair it with something decent, but you don't need anything really that special really. But yeah, obviously I don't know what these come with, so obviously I will link in the description the store, the company who make these, and obviously you can check all the info, but obviously I'm only checking with what it came with. yeah, so let's talk about the timbre of these. It was actually quite good. Again, this Tesla driver it seems of high quality, so you can tell compared to something basically cheap. They don't sound cheap, it does sound a good driver's used. Obviously I'll get to the tuning, the sound in a bit, but the driver itself seems competent, which is good, which is obviously what, because these are, I think £100 or just below, I'm not quite sure. Obviously I will link the store in the description. And yeah, so let's get to actual sound. So I'm going to overlay the graph now so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, it's a big V. So let's talk about bass. There's a lot of it. It bleeds a lot from the mids, which I'll get to in a bit. These are really good for electronic music, as I listen to typically a bit of everything, but electronic music is more so. And these hit hard, as you can probably imagine. But again, it's a good quality dynamic driver, so it sounds full. You know, they don't sound cheap. It's got good decay and texture, so which is good. It's a bit much really because it just bleeds a lot. But yeah, so let's get to the mids. Scooped, as you can see, so it does. Lower mids do sound thick, which is what I like. Not too much. This is a little bit much more than I like, but it just bleed a bit. It gives more volume. Gives more volume to some singers. More, not as in strength, but more punch to it, shall we say? More impact. Is a better word to use. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. There's just a bit too much of it. Upper mids can be forward, as you can see. It scoops up. Vocals are forward on these, as I tested from my, as I used for my use case. Vocals are forward. There wasn't shout. Most of it wasn't shouty. Some was a little bit forward, but the mids on these, apart from being a bit scooped, are actually not too bad. Yeah, let's now get to probably the meat of this part. Really, is the treble region. As you can see, it is elevated. And the worst part is probably the 2.5K bit, and ultimately that 5K peak. You do really hear that, and that's what makes these fatiguing. These would have been much better. I think they needed more work tuning because the drivers seem good. I think it just needed. They need kind of tuning where they're like maybe some kind of tuning foam down the nozzle or something like that. But they got potential. It just seems a bit wasted. But yeah, the treble fatiguing, which is a shame really. But like I said, I think these with a little bit of work could have been sounding so much more smoother. But the treble is everything's very forward is the best way to describe it. All instruments, singers, which in the high register, it's all very forward. So have to bear that in mind. It can be fatiguing, and for me it was fatiguing, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Obviously the 8K peak is from the actual coupler, so bear that in mind, but the danger bits essentially is the 2.5 and unfortunately the 5. But yeah, that's it really. The actual technical performance of these I was actually quite happy with. It's the same, there's a bit too much of either end and then scooping the mids out, which is a shame. These need a bit more balance, and then it would have actually been quite good. Really, I think in here they could do with some tuning foam. If you look straight down, you can't even. It looks like there's not even any drivers inside. See there? Never seen that before, which might be bad for any earwax or debris which may go down the nozzle. And yeah, so conclusion is they feel like a little bit of they've missed a good opportunity, I think, with these. I do like what they offer. The drivers seem good. They just need final piece of tuning work because they've got the minerals, shall we say. I think they've got a good base. They just needed. It just needs sort. It needs a good cleanup. Like it needs a Mark II version, I think. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. Obviously I'll link, like I've said, I'll link the store in the description. Yeah, so I'd like to thank the viewer, Zeed. Thank you very much for sending these 5 items out. I've got 2 more items to do, which is the Thea Audio V16 and the AUR Audio Neon. So looking forward to those. I haven't tried them yet, so bear that in mind. And yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching and take care.